सोम सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांति। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। मंत्र नंबर 9। अंधं तमः प्रविशन्ति अंधं तमः प्रविशन्ति ये विद्यामुपासते ततो भूय इव ते तमः य उ विद्यया गुम्रताः मंत्र नंबर 10। अन्यदेवाहुर्विद्यया अन्यदाहुरविद्यया इति शुश्रुमपुदीराणां येनस्तद्व्याचचक्षिरे। अन्यदेवाहु विद्यया अन्यदाहुर। We discussed about Vidya and Avidya. Avidya in this section primarily means karma, and Vidya in this section primarily means upasana. I have discussed in took almost two classes to explain why we are taking this meaning over here. So I'll not get into that details, but I would say, just remind you, Vidya means upasana and avidya means karma, life of karma, lifestyle committed to karma. And vidya means lifestyle committed to upasana. Previous shloka or previous mantra we saw, those who are committed to avidya, those who live a lifestyle totally dedicated to avidya, means totally committed to karmas, varieties of karmas, yajna yagadis. Andhan tamah pravishanti. They go to those lokas which are full of darkness, full of ignorance. Means they gain to those lokas where the possibility of moksha is less. When you commit to karma, the person becomes extrovert. Not only extrovert, more you act, more you work, more there is likes and dislikes. More one wants to pursue further and further and further. When karma is called samsara or chakkar, they call it chakkar. Why it is called like that? Samsara sagaraha. Just as ocean is endless, so also karmas are endless. Even in seva, it is endless. Even in Rashtra Bhakti, it is endless. Always there is something left out to be done. And since it is without any beginning and so they are busy in fulfilling one or after desire, always thinking of gross world. Mind is busy with the gross thing. That mind, obviously, that person who always thinks of the gross world in course of time becomes grosser and grosser. So andhan tamah pravishanti. They go to darker lokas of darkness. Acha, they enter into blinding darkness. And upasakas have their own world, musician, artist, or doing some Bhagavad Upasana, bhaktas, they are in their own world. They talk with Bhagavan, they relate with Bhagavan. It's a good thing to do, nothing wrong in it. But they are always lost in something which they have created. They don't live in Vyavara. They don't live in this actual world. They live in the world of Bhava. Bhavaatmaka world they live. And they are little away, little alienated from the context with the world and the people around. And they are true. They live in this world of their bhava. They are very subtle, very sensitive. But subtlety and sensitivity is only with reference to their bhava, nothing else. And since they are away from the actual world, what happens when these people, they says they go to more blinding darkness. Why? Whenever there is a slightest of a problem or difficulty, like a turtle, when you touch a turtle, it withdraws itself, all the limbs into the shell. So they withdraw into their shell of bhava. They withdraw themselves or they live into the shell of upasana. Or artists, they live in the shell of imaginations and art. And therefore, they enter into further darkness. Why? Because that shell, that bhava, always gives them joy and peace and happiness. To some extent, I can equate these people with modern meditators. They keep meditating. Some of them are genuine. They get into that meditation and enjoy themselves. But then sukham is dependent upon a state of a mind. Anything that you pursue for a length of time, the mind assumes that kind of tendencies, that kind of attitude, and that mind gains more capacity to absorb itself into that state, easier, quicker. Like you do, suppose you are working hard for a month or so, some project one after other. You may be tired physically, but then after the project is also over, mind wants to do something. It is in that mode. Similarly, these upasakas are in upasana mode. They always get back to that mind state. They always want to run away from realities of the life. They always sometimes censure the Vyavharik world. They keep away from the actual world that we all live in with it because of that bhava. And these people who are given to bhava, then the possibility of vairagya is very less. Where a person who is committed to this gross world meets with some failures, it's a part of the life, meets with some difficult situation. Some people surprise that person. Oh, I never thought this person can be like this. You never thought, better be ready for surprise. The world is always full of surprises. It surprises, like everybody has a surprise. Even Donald is surprised. How come I lost the election? but you lost it. And it is not that you lost it with a thin margin that you have elbow or window to manipulate thing and go to court and all that. It's a clear thing. So he's in for surprise. People are in for surprise because 3-4 months ago never thought that anybody can challenge. And they thought Joe Biden, Biden is too weakling a candidate to take upon this WWF champion. By the way, he was there in the ring those days. I have those videos, like these programs, and he will go in the ring and push somebody and beat somebody and all that thing. Anyway, so I was surprised. Okay, Donald did that. President was like this. But then it was, I was grammatically incorrect, not was. He is that. Anyway, coming back to this, you have a surprise. And that surprise sometimes hurts people. When they're hurt, in those moments of hurt, there is a possibility of being more introvert, possibility of doing viveka. And then since the possibility of viveka gives rise to possibility of vairagya. Understand? So the person committed to karma, he has a lot of struggle to achieve something is a struggle. You have to deal with the people, you have to deal with the situation, you have to manage with your own resources and all the obstacles either from external forces and internal forces. So that person, because of the struggle and all that, there is a possibility of vairagya. So it is said the karma, person committed to karma goes to blinding darkness, but committed to upasana goes to more blinding darkness, darker blinding darkness. Because they get some happiness. Remember, that happiness is similar to any happiness that you get by just eating or through experiencing the external world. The only difference is a samsari or a karmata committed to karma becomes happy through external world and the objects. This person gains happiness on the basis of the state of the mind. Through practice, he or she takes the mind into certain state, like a poet getting lost into poetry, musician getting lost into some music, artist getting lost into his or her own art. Similarly, the upasakas does Bhagavad Chintanam and Bhagavad Leela Darshanam and all kinds of things. They imagine that Krishna is chilling butter and the whole thing, the blessed thing they visualize. There is a very detailed description how the Krishna looked and whatever his eyes and how he looked, the face and the color and the smile that he had it and how other Gopalas broke those vessels and how they were licking the butter and how the monkeys came and all these Kathakaras describe in such a detail that it becomes ecstatic. But then it is again, I am happy because of this. It is not I am happy because it is I. The discovery is still not there. They are also depending upon something, a state of mind, namely, to be happy, but then it is dependent happiness. It is, in a way, external happiness, objective happiness, not subjective. The happiness not caused by I, the subject. And therefore, there is less chances to viveka and vairagya. When there is a vairagya, these failures, some problems give rise to some viveka. Viveka may give rise to vairagya, and vairagya later on may give rise to desire for moksha. Person may think of moksha path and then ultimately go to a teacher and do Shravana Manana and then gain moksha. That possibility is not there in case of those upasakas. Therefore, it is says, Tato bhuya ivate tamaha. They even more further darkness they enter who are upasakas. It was a generic statement that they enter into darkness. Now the Shruti tells specifically what is the phalam of karma and what is the phalam of upasana. And the phalam is Anyadevahu avidyaya Anyadahu vidyaya. Iti shushruma dhiranam yenastad vyajachakshire. Anyat eva. Certainly it is different. What it is different? This ahu. Ahu means they say that a different result is achieved by avidya. Vidya. It starts with the vidya first. Anyadahur vidyaya. Vidyaya by upasana, you attain different result. Achha. And anyadahuhu avidyaya. And they say different result is achieved through by avidya. When one commits to upasanas, when one is totally dedicated to a different upasanas, he gets different phalam, and one is committed to karmas, that person gets different phalam. Iti shushruma dhirana. Iti shushruma. Thus we have heard from whom? Dhiranam, from the wise people, wise persons. Who are those wise people? Yenastad vyachachakshire. Those wise people who explained this, who expounded this vision to us. That is what we have heard from such wise people. There may be wise people, but then how do you know which wise told you? Not any wise person, but those wise persons who taught us, who revealed this vision to us, we have learned from them. So the translation is, they say that a different result is achieved by upasana, and they also say different result is achieved by karma. By commitment to upasana, you gain different result. By commitment to upasana, you get different result. And then this is, they say, who says? Those dhiraha, those wise persons tell us. Which wise person? Yenas tadvyachakshire. Those wise who explained to us this Shastra, those wise people who expounded the Shastra to us, they say that the two different types of results are achieved by karma and upasana. Let us see this. This is purely mention about karma and karma phala. Upanishad. It doesn't get into detail about karma phalas. It doesn't talk about. It just reveals it is different. And that Shruti Vakyas are there. Vidya Devalokaha. There is a Vakya statement. Through Vidya, you achieve Devaloka. And then Vidya Tadarohanti, the climb, the reach there. Vidya means upasanas. These upasanas, upasakas, after death, goes to Devaloka, goes to divine places hereafter. And there is a Vakya also, Karmana Pitruloka. Through karmas, you gain Pitruloka. Therefore, it says, Anyadahuhu Vidya, Anyadahuhu Avidya. Through Vidya, you gain different result. Through Avidya, you gain different result. Please understand what is this loka. There are so many lokas, minimum 7 up and 7 down. Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Swaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. 7. Ultimate is 7th loka. And there is another reading that ultimate is 28th loka. 28th loka up and 28th loka down. This up and down is not in terms of space and direction. Up and down here is with reference to punya and papa, with pleasure and pain, with comfort and discomfort. So the lokas up, meaning thereby you gain those lokas where there is a pleasure, where there is a sense pleasure available. That's all it is. And when you go to down lokas, then there is a pain, there is a discomfort. That is an adholoka. Okay? What is this loka? Why should I believe in this loka, etc.? Please understand what is loka. Lokyate anubhuyate iti lokaha. These lokas are nothing but fields of experiences. And these different fields of experiences give different degrees of joy, happiness, pleasure, and different degrees of pain and unhappiness and unpleasantness. It is our day-to-day experience. That difference is infinite. Like even a simple look at this one experience of tongue. Again, test. Rasa swada. Swada. Experience of test. Let us take experience of test, that too hot test. By the way, you should know one thing, You see, all these 10 indriyas are given. 5 senses of perception and 5 senses of action. But Bhagavan has given shutter only for 2 senses. There is no shutter for the ears. There is no shutter for nose. You have to go to Ramdev to clear a shutter, do some pranayama, then you have a shutter. There is a shutter for the tongue, lips. Pull the shutter. There is a shutter for the eyes. You close the eyes. But then when you close the eyes, you cannot interact with the world. It's difficult. But then, in spite of closing this shutter, you can relate to world better than by talking. You know why shutter is given? This indriya is 3 in 1. The tongue is a sense of taste, sense of touch, an organ of talking. Karmendriya also. There is a 3 indriyas. 1 karmendriya, sense organ of action of talking, and 2 gnanendriyas, sense organ of taste and sense organ of touch. So you like tea, but then temperature is subjective. At what temperature I want tea? Some want just boiling hot. And there are different degrees. Then exact hot heat is there. Then you feel, yes, it's a good tea. Indians, typical Indians will always have problem in US. First of all, in North America, first of all, they give you tea and coffee and milk separate. There is a separate milk. And milk is always too cold. And when you add the milk, the tea becomes colder. An Indian wants it straight from the kettle, hot one. Especially Indian male. They want hot tea. So when you get those tea and coffee, it was a good coffee, but there is always a but. In hot taste, look at the varieties of sukham you get. Hot tea gives a different sukham and hot coffee gives different, hot milk gives different. It's endless difference. And in tea and coffee also, there are varieties of coffees available. Go to Tim Horton or McDonald's. You get a list of it. Then you select one. There are varieties of sukhas in touch. Sense of taste. Similarly, this lokas above, listen, they are fields of experiences where this experience of sukham is more profound and more subtler and more fulfilling. It varies from one loka to another. The ultimate loka is the ultimate sukham, where the sense objects are the best. Sense organs to enjoy them also has that necessary capacity, and the whole ambience, the surrounding is also such that you enjoy. Exactly like taking a cup of tea in Ravechi tea stall on the road, a typical tea stalls in India, that you get a tea and coffee in plastic cups, small cups, and you get a tea on the street. And taking a tea in 7-star hotel or 5-star hotel. Quality of the tea is different, ambience is different, and you taste it different, and then you enjoy. The difference is only 15 rupees and 700 rupees. So understand the difference. What the difference is. Of course, all that 700 is not only for the cup of tea. It is for that watchman also. When you park the car, he came and saluted and opened the door. 50 rupees. Tack. He opened your car door. 50 rupees. Another guy opened the hotel door and welcome. Another 50 rupees. So 700 may say 100 to uska. The charge. Anyway, coming back to, these are lokas. Upasakas get more subtler pleasures hereafter. He goes to higher up lokas. That's what he says. Vidya Devaloka. He goes to Devaloka. More subtle sense objects. Sense organs also have more capacity to enjoy those subtle objects, more powerful. And the whole ambience is also better than what it is here, whereby you get a more profound or more deeper pleasures. Karmana Devid Pitraloka. These karmakandis, they go to Pitralokas, where the sense that loka and the pleasure are not subtler and profound, they are relatively more grosser and not that profound, they are less profound pleasures. This is a phalam. That's what Shastra has talked about, and we accept it because Bhagavan is karma phal data. Since it is Bhagavad Vachanam, it has to be true. And there are supporting logic also. Because karma, like simple law of science, cause and effect are equal and opposite. Here it is not opposite, equal in an alignment. Your karma and karma phala, you get karma phala true to your karma. When you do reach out karma, when you do contributory karma, that's a punya karma, and you get, it result gets multiplied. In the process, you get more sukham here and hereafter. That's okay. Now, this important one more word over here to be noted is the Veda itself says. The teacher, as I had told in the beginning, in case of this Upanishad, you don't know who is the teacher. Nobody knows. You don't know who is the student. And you don't know who asked the question and what was the question. In case of Kena Upanishad or Katha Upanishad or Prashna Upanishad or even Mundaka Upanishad, you know there was a Shishya. At least Katha, Nachiketa was a Shishya who asked the question. And then the teacher was Yamaraja who answered it. So also Kena Upanishad, there is a question, Kena Shitam Patati Preshitam Manaha. And the teacher replies to that Shishya. But here there is no question, straight teaching is. That teacher tells this to his student whom he or she may be teaching. He says, Iti Shushma Dhiranam Yenastadvyacha. This is what I have heard from my teachers. This is what I have learned from my teachers who unfolded me the Shastra, who revealed the Shastras to me. And who were those people? Vyacha Chakshire, Vicha Chakshire, Vyakhya Karna, Vyacha. Vicha Chakshire means those who expounded it, those who unfolded it to me. Those teachers told me like this. It means what? We say Veda is Anadi. Even Anadi also gives some Anaditva. Veda also says there is some teacher before me. That means this is coming down from beginningless time. Teacher taught tradition. This Guru Shishya Parampara is there from beginningless of time. To explain this, there is a story in Bhagavatam that you see this Markandeya Rishi Katha, Saptarshis, he was offering oblations to in the water, and suddenly when he took the Anjali, took the water in his hand, one fish came into hand. And then slowly the fish grew, and the Matsya Avatar Katha. And ultimately that fish asked those Saptarshis to sit in the boat, and fish pulled the boat because the pralaya was to come, and they all sat with Vedas. There is mention. That means in this particular cycle, what we call a kalpa, in this particular yuga, Satya, Dwapar, Treta, Kali, etc., this yuga, the Vedas may have come to us from this yuga, but it is there in previous one also. It is there in previous one also. It is there in previous one also. Therefore, it is called Anadi Gnana. There is no beginning of this knowledge. Ultimately, it is revealed to rishis by the Lord himself. Shruti doesn't require a pramana. Also note that. Shruti itself is a pramana. But still Shruti says, this is what sort of validating its own statement. Shruti says, this is what I have heard from my teachers who expounded Shastras to me. It is not validation. Shruti is a pramana. It need not quote for validation. It is telling, should communicate this important point that Shastra should be learned from a competent teacher. The Rishi who is teaching here in Ishavasya Upanishad himself says, I have learned from my teacher. Like even the Vidya of Katha Upanishad, that we get it. So you can say that Brahma Vidya, first teacher is Yamaraja, and for Manushya Loka, first teacher is Nachiketa. Because he gained from Yamaraja and he passed on to the next generation next, and that's how we have this Upanishad with us. Had Nachiketa not taught to his disciple, and his disciple not taught to his disciple or her disciple, etc., we wouldn't have this Vidya. So you can say first teacher is Yamaraja, but Yama himself tells in the Upanishad that I learned from my teacher, implying that this is knowledge. In modern jargon, I can say this knowledge cannot be intellectual property rights, trademark, that this is mine. And to gain the Vidya, one need to go to Guru. One need to surrender to a teacher. And that Guru is who is the one who is the traditional teacher, who has who knows the tradition of teaching, and the one who himself had a guru. I told this to somebody. One of the newspaper fellow asked, "Are you a guru?" I said, "In a way, yes or not, both." I can be guru if you are a shishya, otherwise I can't be guru. No, there is nobody absolute guru. There is nobody absolute brother or sister or husband and wife and father and mother. Only Shiva and Parvati is absolute father mother for all of us. But then then he says, who can be guru? And I told this. Guru is the one who was a shishya once upon a time, who never claims it is mine. And I am really happy to say this. And that's what I had seen, which I imbibed from Swamiji. Swamiji always felt proud in telling this is what Shruti says. This is what Shankara says. That's what he used to say this. So you don't claim the knowledge. It is the gift of Ishvara that we are given through tradition. To tell this, to convey this point, that knowledge is something to be received from a teacher, and this is the knowledge which is coming down from teacher-student tradition, Guru Shishya Parampara. Shruti says, Iti Shushruvati. This is what I have heard. We heard from a teacher who unfolded to us. In other words, to create or implant proper attitude in the mind of a student towards Guru and whole parampara, whole tradition. That attitude of respect is to be gained and is necessary, so that it helps or it aids one to surrender to the Shastra and to the teacher. The teacher tells, Iti Shushru. And here is the word Dhiraha. I don't know why, but it is true. This word Dhiraha is often used in Upanishad, in Gita, Katha Upanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, Isha. Everywhere there is a Dhirubhai. Not our Canada Dhirubhai, but there is always Dhiraha. There are Dhir Purusha. So it has many meanings. Okay? Dhairya, the one who has Dhairyam is a Dhira. Dhairya is one Lakshmi. It's a wealth. What is Dhairyam? To keep myself together, to hold on to myself, never allow myself to be fragmented or disheartened or getting lost in any difficult situation. Vikara hetau sati api. I can hold my mind and senses together to do what is to be done. That is the, and that is the real wealth. I don't get shaken up. These are all people committing suicide and breaking the relationship and going away. These are all weaklings, fellow. They may be going to gym and building muscles. But the strength lies, I can hold on to relationship. I can hold on in a given situation and do what is to be done without losing the hope, without losing myself, without letting myself to be pessimistic, to be negative. No, I will do it. That is there. It's a wealth. A grahasthi must have this Lakshmi. Dhairya Lakshmi. Why? Dhana Lakshmi, Dhanya Lakshmi, Dhairya Lakshmi, Virya Lakshmi, Vara Lakshmi, Vijaya Lakshmi, Graha Lakshmi, Gnana Lakshmi, Dhairya Lakshmi. Because life is full of challenges. Just as without your expectations, without your wish or without your imagination, you got happiness, some pleasure, some conducive situation, things comes to you. Similarly, without expectation, dukkha also will come. Difficult times will always come. Problematic times. And when you keep composed, when you remain composed, you can see it objectively. When you get overwhelmed by it, you become subjective and you live in an imagined world, and then you don't see the things as it is. You impute your subjective, more often negative subjective value, and let yourself lead to destruction. So Dhairya Lakshmi is necessary. Dhira has another meaning also. Of course, Dhruti, there is the Satviki, Rajasi, Tamasi, Dhruti talked about in Gita. Even there is a possibility that mind, vikar hetu, mind gets modified, gets extrovert, but I don't become that. I can hold on to my goal. I can hold on to my sadhana. I can hold on to my studies. See, the most deceptive thing is your own mind. It takes you away from the study and it justifies also. No, it's proper not to do this. Human mind itself provides a justification. It is exactly like an advocate, a lawyer, who can argue for both person, whatever is the case. His client, he can, whoever is a client, he can find the arguments. That is a human mind. Human mind, if you decide to pursue the study and commit, it will justify. Yes, yes, I must do that. And if you decide not to study, the same mind justifies. Yes, yes, I shouldn't study it now. It's better that there is something else becomes a priority. It prioritizes the things according to its own whims and fancies. So, dhiraha is a person who never lets his or her mind to deviate from moksha. And later on, never gets deviated from knowledge, gnana. So steadfast in knowledge, they are called dhira purushaha. Okay? So even Kalidas also uses this word dhiraha in Raghuvamsha. I will not get into those academics, but dhiraha you can say wise person. Those wise who taught us have told like this. And in the next mantra, the teacher concludes the, the section that I think we'll see next time. I'm sorry, I have some meeting going on. I took a break and anyway, let me do Shanti Part and talk to you for a minute. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Something is